Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the description of the implementation efforts. How did you initiate the implementation of this best practice of the PLCs?
Well, I think we just did. I mean, I made it very clear to district office department heads that this is the direction we were going, and they weren't going to be participating in our in-services. And for one thing, I've been trying really hard to call them in-services and not meetings, just to get away from that mindset. And we just basically started formatting it. This is the way it's going to be. I think I explained that to the site administrators, that I was going to try really hard to have a whole different concept where they were participatory, and we learned together, and I think I made it pretty clear.
Okay. So you just kind of jumped in and just did it, but it sounds like you had some discussion with district level,
yes, central
central office staff personnel before that too, because they needed to change also some of their ways.
Yes. And
okay.
the educational side of the district office, the leadership group there, we worked together very closely, and so we talked about these things before we rolled it out and made sure we were all on the same page with it.
Okay. You mentioned the $3,000 an hour, and that was a challenge at the beginning, that you had to help everyone kind of understand. That was your logic behind that. What were some of your other implementation challenges?
Yeah, and actually the money isn't the issue. I'll just be right up front. Yeah. It isn't about the money, it's about the time. And so the money is a little easier for people to grasp sometimes, but site administrator time is so precious in this district and probably everywhere in the country.
The times that we brought site administrators in, I mean, we've been doing that for years and years, so there wasn't, in fact, I would say it was more, site administrators were relieved. They looked forward to the change in focus from the talking heads to actually learning about learning and learning about helping, improving their practice in the schools. So I'm not sure there were challenges in terms of the implementation. I think it was from the get-go. I don't know of anybody who wasn't on board with it. Now, from time to time, we certainly get site administrators who say, boy, we really need to talk about certain things, that are related to the more mundane stuff. And we have a time during those site administrator in-services that we call whiteboard topics. And it's kind of a time for them to put questions on the whiteboard to ask the leadership team, and we do our best to answer them. So, but I don't know that there was any implementation challenges really. It was
okay.
Yeah, not so much. I think it was a pretty natural flow. Educators love to learn, and that's what it was all about.
So my next question, I think, too, might not be very applicable, but it's how did you bring people along to own the emerging best practice? And it sounds like they were very naturally inclined.
All over it. They loved it. Yeah. I mean, what you're doing is you're respecting them professionally, and they need to be respected because they're outstanding professionals. And when you do that and give credence to what they say and really listen and exchange ideas together as a group, that's all the incentive they need.
And when you bring them together and they are able to work in those small groups, and then it transformed into, it wasn't just us presenting, it was them presenting to their peers. And as we got into some of our initiatives where we had groups focused on different initiatives to begin with, and those groups would then present to the large group. It really added a lot of power to the whole idea of site administrator in-services. It was pretty cool.
Now, as you describe that, Dan, I'm wondering then and the next question is, were there specific phases to your implementation? So did you structure it as it went so that they had more time at the beginning in a small group, and then you led them or allowed them to present to a larger group? Or did it just evolve naturally?
To me, it really depended on the task at hand and whatever it was we were undertaking in terms of learning or developing. And so we tried to, you know, we designed some very specific activities in some cases to try to encourage everybody's input rather than have a few people kind of dominate things at times. You know, so at times we did different things to come up with different results, and certainly the groupings for small groups, we put a lot of thought into
Okay.
how to group those at times. At other times it was just, you know, 3 of you get together and do this kind of a thing, or whoever wants to work on this, you know, who would like to work on this.
And it's really evolved over time too. I know when we first started, it was like, you know, we had to really think through how we were presenting stuff. And over the last year and a half, 2 years, we've actually gotten better at designing activities to keep people engaged. And that was something that I know personally I didn't have that skill set really developed. It was, you know, I could do PowerPoints and things like that, but man, we're way beyond that. It's if you don't have the real meat in there, it's you're going to get beat up.
Right.
And so we've really improved our skill set as leaders in designing the types of activities and you know, building that collaboration and getting their feedback and input and letting them present. It's
and if you truly are respectful and listen and really care about what they say and what everybody says in the group, they'll let you have it. I mean, if you're off base, you'll hear it, and you have to sit there and you have to listen and thank them for telling you sincerely, and that's part of the deal. Sometimes it isn't very fun, but I know as a superintendent, I have watched, prior to being superintendent, I have watched people in a leadership position tighten their circle of who they want to hear from because they don't want to hear the bad news. And it's the exact opposite of what needs to happen. You have to be able to hear what you don't want to hear. And so you really need to develop this trust relationship where you go ahead and tell me and just blast me, and it's not going to come back on you. And that's when you've got something. That's when you can really get the most out of your team.
It sounds like you've raised the bar for them, and in turn it raised the bar for you.
Absolutely. And
no
it's
doubt
good.
about it.
It's
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's unending work to be done, and this is a tool to get work done. And so it's a great tool that works, and it sustains itself.
Yeah.
Because we'll never get all the work done.
In fact, it's worked so well that we have site administrators now who want to come in. It's like, can we have a small group meeting with this kind of, you know, that we're working on this initiative? Can we meet on Thursday before the site administrator meeting on Friday? Mm-hmm. So we've really even done a good deal of that stuff for site administrators. Yeah. And, you know, that's tough because I know as a principal and a site administrator in our school district, I hated coming to site administrator meetings because I didn't want to be away from my school. But they have seen the value of what we're doing with the in-services and how they now have a huge say in how we impact student academic success, and a huge buy-in from them. And it's full steam ahead, and they get that, and they are pushing us now